Good evening, good day, good whatever time it is out there. I am Josh.
And I'm Marichen.
We have a very special guest. Introduce yourself.
Hi there, I'm Triple Nine, a friend of pirate novelists since January of 2020, I believe.
Welcome to Collector's Confessional, the podcast where two lovers of music confess their love of vinyl and the lives they lead, and with a special guest. How is everybody doing tonight?
Doing
Pretty
pretty
good.
good.
We wanted to bring a special guest on. Triple Nine and I talked quite a bit, and there's a band that's very special to us, and we've gotten Marichen in on this, a band called Pretty Reckless.
So we met in the Paramore server. What happened was Paramore Discord server. I went in and said, "Hey, I have a Pretty Reckless Discord server. Would anyone be interested in joining?" And then Pirate comes in and says, "There's a Pretty Reckless Discord server, and no one told me."
That's the best Josh line I've heard. Like, he is like so dramatic like that, and I can see it just in my head.
We have a little bit of kind of news that we normally do, see how everybody's doing with life since the last episode. I know we posted 2 episodes in a row. This is coming out a little bit different because life got chaotic. Normally this is a bi-weekly podcast, but life just decided to up and be like, hey, we're going to be super busy for no apparent reason.
You say bi-weekly, but there have been episodes with like month-long gaps between them.
Yeah, it's we're trying to fix that, but you know, it is what it is. Life decides to be chaotic.
Yeah, that happens.
But it's all for fun. You know, this is kind of a passion project to be honest, but it's just kind of nice. Rick, and I know you've been having a crazy week. What's been going on in your week?
Oh my gosh, this week has been insane. I finally finished up this class that I've been taking, and it kicked my butt. I'm so done with school. I don't even want to think about it, but I still have another year and a half. And so I'm glad that that's over. But Jared and I are actually in the process of buying a house, so we've been like crazy busy with that too, and trying to run around and get like home insurance quotes and get stuff to fix it up. I mean, like, it's just been endless. And today I was like, yeah, I'm gonna, do this podcast early. That did not happen. Like, I was just like, I'm gonna be there at like 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock came and went real quick. And so, I don't know, I'm so glad that it seems to be calming down for the moment, but this is just the calm before the storm, I know.
Yeah, especially because I know how chaotic the home buying process is, and the market is chaotic as it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say exactly what I do for a living, but I'm real estate adjacent, and I understand that the market is crazy chaotic right now, and just to say that is an understatement of the century. But congratulations on, the purchase of the home and everything. That's a huge, huge step for anybody. So that's to be applauded. Yes, you got a lot of work to do and a lot of things to go ahead with, and paperwork and all that chaotic stuff. You'll get through it. I believe in you.
My job honestly makes it a little easier on me because the law firm I work at does real estate stuff too. And my cousin's wife actually does the real estate stuff there, and I bought her daughter's house. So she's making things a lot easier for me, so that's a plus to everything.
So, Triple Nine, how's your week been going?
Pretty busy with work. Maybe not busy, but productive, I guess. Since September, I've been doing title insurance, data entry for a title insurance company.
Ah, okay.
And there have been a couple of days this week where there haven't been a whole lot of cases, so it feels a little slow. I'm actually kind of okay with that because it doesn't feel like, oh, I have to get like 80 cases done by the end of the day. It's just I have less of a hassle I need to worry about.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, it's this, the past couple of months for what I do has been nothing but make my hair turn gray with how busy and insane. And this past week is finally calming down after like 4 months. I might not have been showing it this or that, but it kind of shows on my personal content because I was going strong, and then after a while, when I'm talking about my personal YouTube, after a while, just life just decided to hit a brick wall of, yeah, you have a pile of work, but it's all good. And it's kind of funny. Right at 6 o'clock, I was actually going to get cars washed anyway, so it all worked out. We're all here recording it in the evening, and yay! Record Store Day news right now. There's nothing. We've already kind of given our thoughts on it. The only thing I have seen is, unless Triple Nine, do you have any thoughts on Record Store Day?
The only thing that caught my attention was the Elton John release.
Yes, there we
Yes.
go. I love Elton John.
I saw him in concert back in 2010, 2011 with Leon Russell.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I do regret that. I really wanted to see him play Crocodile Rock, and when he did, I was like, okay, we can go home now. I didn't know at the time that he saved your song for the encores, so I missed that.
Oh, man.
When life gets back to semi-normal, let's hope for another Elton John concert for you.
Hopefully. I mean, he's been keeping busy.
Yeah.
He's been doing stuff with Lady Gaga, Gorillaz, Rina Sawayama.
Oh yeah, but it'll be nice to get back to an semblance of quote unquote normal. What was normal anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, that is true. I'm ready for concerts. I've been missing them
too.
this week.
I
Really
had
bad.
so many great concerts planned for 2020. I was going to see the Hayley Williams tour, the Pretty Reckless. I was going to see the Rage Against the Machine reunion. I was going to see Against Me with Baroness. I was going to see Volbeat. It was going to be great.
Man. I didn't have a whole lot planned for 2020, and then, like, when it turned to absolute crap, I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't buy a lot of concert tickets yet, because can't go anyway.
Yeah, the big one for me was I was finally going to see Disturbed in Saint Estonia.
Ooh.
It was Saint Estonia, Disturbed, and Volbeat was like the main headliners of this mini festival we have here. That didn't happen, of course. It was supposed to happen in May, and that was right when we started this whole human malware chaos.
Yeah.
YouTube is still flagging you if you say the C word, even after all this time. So we use
Even
human
after,
malware.
things are reopening and people are getting vaccinated.
Yep.
Interesting.
They still flag it as misinformation if you happen to use that word. It's weird.
You
But-
can't even say the word, and that counts as misinformation. That seems like an overreaction.
I
it is-
agree.
It's a bot. What can I say? They're like, just put the bot over there. It's done. We won't have to worry about it. We're going to make money anyway.
Just a quick aside about Volbeat. I'm not as big a fan of them as you are. I like them, but my favorite song of theirs, it's funny, I didn't get to a song of theirs I loved until their most recent one, Sorry Sack of Bones.
Yes. That's a good song.
Yeah.
My favorite is off of Guitar Gangsters and Cadillac Blood. It's a song called Marianne's Place. I heard it when I was seeing Pop Evil in the parking lot of a strip club, and also in the same parking lot they had an antique store. And this was for a chili cook-off, like a chili wing cook-off, and this was like 3 hours away. And this was when Onyx had just come out, so they were playing the side stage at the Lunatic Luau. That's the name of the festival. They were playing there. I drove all the way down to go see them. And it's funny because I spoke to Nick Fueling, who is the guitarist, on the side of the stage, just randomly. And then he gave me a look like, you look familiar. It's like we drove all this way down to go see them after 3 hours. But it was one of the funnest shows I've ever been to. It was like small crowd, but I miss concerts. And this past year I was supposed to see that, and then also I won tickets to Night Ranger with White Snake and Sammy Hagar.
Ooh, that is an 80s night for the ages.
And I'll be honest, I was really looking forward to that. Like, White Snake was gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna check this off my bucket list. Disturbed is kind of like icing on the cake because I love Volbeat.
Did you ever listen to the album that David Coverdale did with Jimmy Page?
I believe so. It's been a hot minute though.
I listened to it recently. It's not on Spotify, but I did listen to it recently, and it is pretty solid.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. There's a lot of albums coming out now, and it's
Oh no, this was back in '93.
okay. I've been focusing on other things too. But 93. Okay, I'll have to check it out. Do you know that Diamante is dropping her new album this week coming up?
You did say you were looking forward to that.
I
yeah?
am very much looking forward to that because I heard Obvious before it was a single that was out. She premiered it at the last concert I went to before all this happened, and she brought down Neil from 3 Days Grace to play the drums live to a crowd of like 20 people. It was one of the greatest concert moments I can think of.
God damn.
I have it on video.
Ooh.
Yes, there's a couple of videos floating around, but I have it on video. I didn't shoot it in 4K. I have it just in 1080, but who knows? Maybe one day I might upload it. I might not. It's for personal, reasons. And it's at the same venue I saw Panic at the Disco years and years ago. This was when
the group was still together and it wasn't
yes.
the Brendan Urie project.
And it wasn't just one guy.
Yes. Yeah. It was Too Weird to Live era. So Miss Jackson was just the brand new single. And Vine was still a thing.
Oh wow, that's been a while.
Oh man, that is a name I've not heard in years.
So what's funny is, just as a little concert memory from that, Brendan Urie was saying that they were playing this particular, it's called the Jewish Mother, but now it's called Elevation 27, saying, hey, we're playing the Jewish Mother here in Virginia Beach. First person to throw up a hacky sack on stage, I'm a suck yo, and it cuts off because it's Vine. So we get to the show. I hadn't seen this Vine yet, but somebody throws up a hacky sack, and all I hear is, all right, meet me backstage after the concert.
Was he going to kick his ass or something?
No, he was going to suck his you-know-what because he threw up a hacky sack.
Oh, so is this like a variation on the Mardi Gras beads?
Yes. It was one of the surrealist moments, and I was like, oh, now I get it. But now that Vine is no more, I don't think I can even find that. And even if you look at, like, Brendan Urie compilations on Vine, it's not a popular one. It's not one that I think got saved. So, unfortunately, it got lost to the snap of time when Vine went bye-bye. So, anything life else before we move on to the topic of conversation?
I'm good.
The only other thing I can think of is I saw on the Steve Hoffman forums is the Warren Zevon release. Somebody got their hands on it super early, and it looks amazing. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Oh, yeah, those are the pictures you sent me, weren't they?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
It's like on like a sky blue vinyl. And it's in like a slip case. The CD booklet is actually a 12 by 12. They replicated that. Not heard anything on sound quality yet. I'm waiting on that, but fingers crossed that's good. But I think we're good now to move on.
Actually, speaking of the Steve Hoffman forums, I do want to do a quick plug. So I have this thread. I mentioned it to you where I review every song that hit #1 on Billboard's mainstream rock chart, starting from 1981 and going to the present day. And right now I'm in 1998. I can send you a link to the page and you can put it in the video description.
Yes.
If that works.
That'll work. Everybody, if you got to this point, check it out. We'll have the link in the description. But it's been interesting. You and I have chatted about the songs you've been working on and just thoughts and everything. So
most recently we had a conversation about Van Halen 3.
Yes. Oh.
The lead single from that debuted at #1, actually.
Lovely.
And I think the song before that that hit #1 was from Yield, Given to Fly by Pearl Jam. And I already know, without knowing anything about you, I can already tell which one you prefer.
I also prefer Given to Fly because there's a nice little concert memory attached to that. Eddie dedicated it to a man who got out after 33 years of being in jail on false evidence. So he got out that weekend and he dedicated the Given to Fly to that guy. He said he could wish he could buy him a drink. So that's why it's kind of like that really cool kind of emotional connection to it. But it's just a fun song anyway.
I remember when I saw Pearl Jam on the Lightning Bolt tour, there was a woman in the front row who was, I believe, celebrating her 21st birthday. So Eddie had a drink of something with her.
The other one was like, oh, it's your birthday? Well, happy birthday. Free breakfast at Denny's for you.
that sounds like Eddie better. Yeah.
And for those who are not in the know, Pearl Jam records like 99% of their live shows and it calls it the bootlegs. And they don't actually mean bootlegs. Like, they actually professionally record, professionally mix. Like, it's actually like a concert video, but every single performance is done to like pretty much perfection. And
Pick any show at random. It will be amazing.
Yes. I'm actually looking at, what was funny is I was actually looking at the CD from my show. It just happened to be like right within viewing distance. So it's like, that's perfect. You were talking about Getting to Fly.
Nice.
So let's now get into the topic at hand. A band called The Pretty Reckless.
Yes.
Amazing, amazing bands. In my opinion,
they do not get enough credit.
No, they do not, and it's a damn shame, in my opinion, because
whenever I talk about them with online fans, I always feel like I'm describing a niche group, even though they're a pretty big name in rock right now.
Yeah.
Right before we recorded this, they had their 6th #1 hit on mainstream rock.
Yes, that is just so big. That's so awesome.
Especially for a female-led act.
Yes. But, like, aren't they like, a one-trick pony and like a gimmicky band?
No, not at all.
Not at all. For those people who are like, but, well, what about, this and that? No, they are the real deal. And they've been the real deal for a long, long time.
A quick aside, that sounded like Eric Cartman.
I totally meant to do that. No, I'm kidding.
Respect my authority. But yeah, Pretty Reckless. So
I think we can start by kind of going off of how we were introduced each to them.
Oh, actually, before we do, so in the episode where you and Marichen talked about Death by Rock and Roll and Broomsticks, I told you about this. I don't know if you told Marichen about this. Apparently, for whatever reason, her microphone was really, really quiet, so I couldn't hear what she was saying. And, like, I knew you loved those songs. I wanted to hear what she had to say, but I couldn't hear it. And meanwhile, you were really close to the microphone, and I could hear you breathing, and I couldn't hear her talk about what she thought about the songs.
Marichen, do you kind of remember what you thought before you heard the full album?
I know. I remember those were the two that you had originally sent me. And, honestly, I thought they were really good. Because that was kind of like the first taste of the Pretty Reckless that I'd ever had, really. And so I didn't really know what to think, like, going into it. Like, I'd heard the name, but never really listened to anything. And so when Josh sent me those songs, I kind of went into it blind, basically just knowing it was a female-fronted rock band. And I really thought they were good songs, but then everything kind of just released all at once, it seemed like, at the beginning of the year, and the album kind of got pushed to the back burner. And then Josh was like, you need to listen to it, just do it. And I did, and it was great. So, but I really liked him.
So I ordered a couple of copies of the album on vinyl, and my first copy was a silver etched vinyl, and I got it on Thursday, February 11th. The album officially released on Friday, February 12th, so I got my copy a day early, and I listened to it on the turntable that I got for a Hanukkah present, and I loved it. I was like, this is the album to beat this year, and I told that to Pirate. I was like, dude, you are going to be all over this thing, and I called it. He was like, man, this album.
I mean, yeah, honestly, like, not knowing much from the Pretty Reckless or about them, it's gonna be a hard album to beat for me, and I'm not, like, as big of a fan as you all are. So, I mean, that says a lot about the album if someone who's kind of an outsider and doesn't know a whole lot about a band is like, yeah, this is gonna be an album to beat.
You know what? By the time you made that episode, 25 had also come out. If 25 was the only song they released ahead of the album, I would still be like, this is going to be the album of the year.
I wrote, and it's still yet to be published because I'm still trying to slowly work on our website for the podcast. I wrote a 5-page song-by-song review that gushes into excruciating detail how much I love this album.
Proofread by yours truly.
Yes, and that is you were such a big help with that, and I thank you.
Always happy to help.
So my exposure to the Pretty Reckless, I'd like to go last. So 999, how did you get into the Pretty Reckless?
I got into them during the Going to Hell era, their second album. I am not going to lie, it was the album cover that first got my attention. And then I listened to the album, and I was like, oh man, this is a really awesome rock band. My memories don't get any more specific than that, but I do remember being a fan of theirs by the time of the rollout of the following album, Who You Selling For, which is the tour for which I saw them. And that album I really love too. 2016 was a tough year, and I don't know how I would have survived the election that year without that album. Like, it came out very shortly before the election, and I saw them in concert like a week and a half afterwards, and like they put that album out at the perfect time.
For me, I actually got into them when I went to Warped Tour 2011, 2012, and then the last Warped Tour. So I've been to 3 Warped Tours, and I remember specifically going to that Warped Tour, and I actually got a literal fan, because when you go to Warped Tour, it's hot and sticky and all that fun stuff. I got a literal fan with Light Me Up on it.
Ooh,
and I decided
love that album.
I decided to take a look at it. Light Me Up, is their debut. About 2011, I decided to, go look up Make Me Wanna Die, and I was hooked immediately. And I knew
such a good song.
That whole album, I re-listened to it for this specific podcast.
Such a fun album.
It is, and it's kind of like revisiting something that you haven't in a while. Even though I listened to, Make Me Wanna Die, Light Me Up. I put it in playlists all the time, but it's been a while since I've sat down and listened to the full album.
Okay, so for a little bit of context for the listeners, Make Me Wanna Die is the first song that the band wrote together, and it's like one of their signature songs. It's so great. Like, they played it every single concert, and like the crowd just goes nuts every single time.
Yes. Even though there's been band lineup changes since then, it's still just as good.
Oh, wait. What?
Has there been lineup changes since then?
No. They've had the same lineup since like the end of the 2000s.
Huh. Then everything that I've been looking at has kind of been weird.
I know, like, at first, Taylor Momsen, the lead singer, was like the Pretty Reckless with her and just some guys she knew, and then she met the guys who currently make up the rest of the band, and they've been together for like a little over a decade.
Okay, then that's where my brain was going with it.
No, you're thinking of Paramore, dude.
Yeah, you're right. That's another show for another day.
Another great female-led band.
Yes.
But yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my history, and I actually got to see them twice, and same Lunatic Luau, same show. They were headlining the side. The Lunatic Luau has 2 stages, the side stage and the main stage. So they played both. They were headlining the side stage on a very cold and rainy day. I was completely frozen, and their in-ear monitors just decided to stop working, and there were no lights, and there was just a crowd of people. This was the before times, obviously. There was a crowd of people. And what's funny is Ben was apologizing to the crowd. He says, I'm sorry, everybody, but better bands than us don't use monitors, and we use monitors. So we're going to apologize if anything is off. And then Taylor just literally pops in and says, I'm singing by fucking memory right now.
Nice. That does sound like her. Quick addition. Ben is essentially second in command. He's a guitarist. He co-writes the songs with her.
And yeah, and then the second, obviously the show after they were on the main stage, and it was nice and sunny and everything, and it was a much better time. But I think it's kind of a precursor that, it's kind of like doom and gloom, because Five Finger Death Punch was the headliner that year.
Oof.
This is actually back when I admit I listened to some of their songs way back when. I've seen them a couple of times. This was before I realized the way they are now, and I don't listen to them anymore for personal reasons.
You are not missing out on much.
I know. But back when I actually gelled with them, some of their stuff was actually enjoyable. Like, some of their guitar work, like, live is actually okay. But that's the only thing I'm going to say about it.
So, the biggest song on the rock charts, both, like, in terms of radio play and streaming, was their song A Little Bit Off. It was huge. And the song that dethroned it from the top of the rock chart was Death by Rock and Roll.
And I highly recommend for our listeners, once the after times come, to go see the Pretty Reckless live.
Please do. Please. They're such a good live band.
They are.
They're so good. I saw the Pretty Reckless when they were, like, everyone except the bass player was sick. So sick they had to reschedule their Boston show. But they still man, one of the best live shows ever.
I was kind of going back and, like I said, re-listening, and man, there were some things that I missed on Who You Sellin' For.
Such a good album.
The Hangman, the first song, has elements of
Yeah.
Alice in Chains. Like, I swear I heard Alice in Chains.
Yes.
And then, oh my god, sounds like a Soundgarden song to me.
I never really got Soundgarden. I got more of like an 80s hardcore punk kind of vibe.
Right, but now that I've listened to, Only Love Can Save Me Now, like, I could
Yeah,
hear the
that is the Soundgarden tribute.
influences. But, Marichen, from your listenings now to, kind of getting into it, has there been any, like, standout song that you've listened to kind of a little bit more?
Honestly, like, the only album I've still listened to in full is Death by Rock and Roll.
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of, like, downloaded their stuff on my phone and have just kind of put it on shuffle, like, while I'm on my way to work or while I'm at work or whatever. So I don't know a lot of names, particularly off the top of my head, but I've enjoyed the songs that I've gotten to hear.
Taylor would suggest that you listen to each album in order, like in album order.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I normally do it. Usually, like, I don't really put them on shuffle, but I would recommend doing that at least once, where you just listen to each album in the order that it came in.
Yeah, I definitely like to do that with albums. I like to listen to them in order. I kind of wanted to get like a feel for their music, and I didn't know if I'd have time to listen to every album in full. So I was trying to just kind of feel around. Mm-hmm. And I hope to get into some more of their albums and like actually sit down and listen to them in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, I'll say this. You picked a great album to start with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it was really good. I was really surprised because, like, I did enjoy the singles that Josh had sent me, but I don't know. I was just like, it's a rock album. There's probably going to be some good stuff, probably going to be some bad stuff. I don't know, but I was really, like, enjoying it. I was texting Josh while I was listening to it because we were slow at work, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it just keeps getting better. What the heck?
The Pretty Reckless don't really have bad songs,
No.
Just, in my opinion, just songs that aren't as strong as others.
Right. Everything is just kind of solid. And could now kind of shift, I guess, to Death by Rock and Roll, since this is kind of where everybody knows everything now.
You know what's funny? It's almost been a year since the single was released.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember, I think they wanted to hold off so they can actually try touring. Am I correct with that?
What I read was they were planning to release the album, the single in May, and then just tour around that time, and then the album was going to come out in late 2020, and they pushed it to early 2021 because they thought it would be closer to when they could tour for it. And then they reached a point where they were like, you know what, screw waiting for the tour, just put it out.
I feel like a lot of bands are that way.
Yeah, and I'm just happy for all their success, to be honest.
Same.
Like now they're actually getting the recognition they kind of, well, they've always needed to deserve it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like the mainstream deserved kind of thing. I'm not saying like, bashing on the mainstream and everything, but it's nice that they're getting, around. Their music is going around and it's touching a lot of people.
I always like when artists like that, like, even if they're not commercial successes, they still get the attention and credit that they have earned and deserve. I always appreciate that.
Yes, and I've not had a chance to listen to, I mean, I've listened to it, but I've since gotten some really nice headphones. These headphones are really nice. I was listening to Brand New Eyes, and I'm telling you,
Ooh.
I was listening to The Separation, and I could hear, the bass groove along with the bottom end of, Zach's drumming and Jeremy's bass playing. On Brick by Boring Brick, I could hear the subtleties in the way he was playing the bass and everything. So these favor the bottom end, and I know there are some people that are saying, one little criticism, quote unquote, air quotes, is there's no bass in Death by Rock and Roll. There's bass there.
I should add to that. I don't know if you heard it first from me, but I don't know if I'd call it a criticism, but a thing I noticed was that the bass was really kind of faint in the mix. And I figured with Taylor Momsen, everything is there for a reason. So I figure she has to have a reason why it's like that. And my first thought was, so this album is dedicated to their late producer who played bass on their first album. And I'm thinking, okay, so this is like a Metallica's And Justice for All kind of thing. And then I actually got to ask her about it in a Q&A she did, and she said, the interviewer said, is there a narrative reason for it? Because she co-produced, so this would be something she had some involvement with, this decision. And she said, to paraphrase, yes and no. Yes, because I wanted the focus of this album to be on the emotion, and specifically the emotion in my voice. And while bass is important and powerful, and wouldn't be a rock band without bass, well, except for maybe the White Stripes. It can sometimes get overwhelming, but no, because there is still bass, and the subs in your car are wrong, and you should, it's there. I promise you that. So the bass is there, but I kind of came around to the idea that if the songs are good enough, then it shouldn't be a deal breaker.
No, it is not a deal breaker at all. I've listened to it digitally from the YouTube mixes, which of course are compressed to hell. But
Yeah.
in these headphones, I can tell the bass is there. But it's just like, it's just something that's kind of come up with it. Just kind of wanted to address that. Reagan, I know I know when we were texting back and forth about the album, how each song was kind of building on and on and on. Since then, have you revisited any of the songs again? Has one kind of stuck out in your mind as like, I have to kind of go back and revisit this?
Yeah. I've listened to the album. I listened to it that first time on Spotify, and then I ordered the vinyl copy from Bull Moose. And when I got it, I listened to it on vinyl. And honestly, like the big comeback songs for me personally have been like Witches Burn. That's probably like my favorite at the moment, anyway. And I really liked Rock and Roll Heaven. I thought that one was really good. But, like, I honestly didn't dislike anything off of it, and I really don't see myself skipping any of them if I hear them.
There was a Righteous Brothers song in 1974. They had a big hit with a song called Rock and Roll Heaven about essentially the same topic. And I didn't know that until, like, very recently, like, a couple of weeks after the album came out. I was like, oh, that's a funny coincidence. And Witches Burn. I was listening to AC/DC recently, Ball Breaker, like one of the more recent ones, and I thought to myself while I was listening to it, if you had AC/DC or even like some singer in an AC/DC cover band sing Witches Burn, it would sound exactly like an AC/DC song.
I'm thinking about that too, yes.
Like an AC/DC original.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm not like prudish or anything, but if you're gonna drop the F-bomb, have a little bit of power to it.
And she does that.
That's one of those songs, for example. Another one is by We Are the In Crowd. It's like the second song on the album. Weird Kids is one of my favorite albums of all time. And just the way Taylor Momsen, she doesn't say break your jaw, break your effing jaw. And just the power in that moment. If you're going to use the F-bomb, use it. I'm not saying, like...
You said Taylor Momsen sang that?
No, Tay Jardine. Sorry, Tay Jardine. My brain, we're on Taylor Momsen and everything.
I know the feeling.
But Tay Jardine, the way she drops the F-bomb in that song with just like so much power and confidence and everything, I hear that when I listen to Witches Burn. I've made no mistake, and I've made it known that Only Love Can Save Me Now is probably my favorite if I had to like gun to my head, like overarching favorite, because of course it has Kim and Matt from Soundgarden on it. But I could not for the life of me, I hear Taylor singing, but when I close my eyes, I just see her and Chris singing it together.
You described it as like Chris smiling down on her.
Yes, but I can also, Chris smiling down on her, but also sometimes I'll close my eyes and I know the way Chris's voice is. I'll actually hear Chris singing with her, if that makes any sense.
You know what? I listened to Super Unknown again recently, and the song 4th of July, his vocals on that song kind of reminded me of that. The main vocals are very low register.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he normally sings, I thought it was the end.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's like that. And then of course, Rock and Roll Heaven. There's actually this album got an emotional response out of me, and that's not happened in quite some time. So when you get like an emotional response out of me like that, like I actually needed tissues a couple of times on this album.
The third time I listened to Harley Darling, I cried.
Yeah.
The first two times I was like, not teary, just really like sad. I feel her sadness. And then the third time, I just teared up.
Yeah, there's like quite a couple of times where I teared up.
Just knowing what the song is about. It's a tribute to their producer who died in a motorcycle accident. Hence the line in the title track, I want to go in a motorcycle crash.
And his footsteps open the album on Death by Rock and Roll.
Bit of trivia, those footsteps were in the studio where they recorded Light Me Up.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And what I find is with album closers. If I actually grade albums, quote unquote, I give the album closer the harshest scrutiny out of any other song.
Because if it doesn't stick the landing, then it all falls apart.
Exactly. Do I want to listen to it again? And of course it's yes, but if you listen to it on a loop, Harley Darling ends, and then his footsteps start, which is completely creepy, but awesome. You know what I'm saying?
I like the idea that the title track starts and, it's footsteps, and then the guitar riff comes in and just kicks the door down.
It just kicks you in the teeth.
Yeah.
I know Taylor Momsen, she's got some range in her pipes and everything. Was there any kind of any standout moments in your minds that you're thinking of, like vocally, that stuck out to you with her?
Gosh, that's a good question. I think honestly, she has just really powerful vocals anyway. And I mean, honestly, I've just really enjoyed her in general. I don't think there's like a particular moment that I enjoy more than the other, at least at this point, because I'm not like too familiar with their discography. But I definitely think that she probably has some of my favorite vocals as far as a female fronted rock band goes.
Yeah, and it's just something special when you find something that just really clicks. And you can tell they put their heart and soul and everything into this. And they do that anyway with all their albums. But you can tell it just elevated itself to something extra special.
Yeah, I could definitely tell that there was like a lot of emotion into this album. And I mean, I don't really like understand it as well as you all do. I know Josh kind of filled me in on the passing of the producer, and I could see where that would really affect someone. And so I really feel like even though I don't know this guy from Adam, I felt her emotion and I felt her pain, and I thought it was just really well done.
Yeah, it's one that you could easily start as a jumping off point for the Pretty Reckless. Not saying to skip all the other albums, but if this is the one that you could easily grab right now, you're not going to go wrong with this album whatsoever.
I usually tell people to start with the Hit Me Like a Man EP.
Yeah, it's one of those where I agree with Taylor to listen to them in order, just kind of in general, but it's just, their music is just so good. I gotta give props to Ben. Like his
Oh yes, round of applause.
Because his work is just, in my opinion, kind of, they're getting the appreciation they're just deserved right now, but he's not in talks of like some of the best right now, and that's a damn shame.
A bit of trivia. So before the Pretty Reckless formed, Ben and the bass player and the drummer were in this local New York band called Famous. Death by Rock and Roll was actually their song originally, from what I understand. It was a demo that they had made and was titled after a phrase that the producer would say a lot. They just had it sitting around for a decade, and then the producer died, and they went back to it, gave it a bit of polish, added like a solo and another lyric, and Taylor's vocals, and boom.
And we also need to talk about not really an elephant in the room, because I know she's okay with it. She was in The Grinch. That's your first exposure. That's like, why does that name sound so familiar? Why does that name sound so familiar? She was little Cindy Lou Who in The Grinch. I watch that every year, but
I would have been impressed if someone said, wasn't she the president's daughter in Spy Kids 2?
Yes, I remember that.
Or wasn't she in that god-awful Underdog movie?
Oh, I completely forgot about the Underdog movie.
Yeah, she played the love interest of Underdog's owner.
Oh,
I saw that movie in middle school and I hated it. Keep in mind, when I was in middle school, I liked the live-action Cat in the Hat movie. So imagine how bad this movie had to be for me to go, yeah, this sucks.
I'm so glad I forgot that existed, because I watch Boomerang every once in a while now, and Underdog was one that I actually watched, that cartoon. I'm glad now. Oh, it just sounds so bad. Of course, she was also in Gossip Girl.
Yes. They actually used a Pretty Reckless song in the series finale.
Right, that is right. I remember that.
Kill Me, which, I don't know if this is a hot take, but it's not really one of my favorites. Like, the music is awesome, but some of the lyrics...
Yeah, and lyrically, some songs, it's okay if it doesn't click with you. That's what I always say,
The only time I've ever had to complain about them, it was regarding lyrics. And I see it like, Taylor cites Kurt Cobain as one of her influences. I read somewhere that he wrote the majority of the lyrics to Bleach, the first Nirvana album. the night before the recording session, and I always thought she was going for that lyrically, like a sort of first draft, be as direct as possible kind of songwriting. And sometimes it works, but other times you get a song like Kill Me, or even off of Who You Selling For, Prisoner, which great music, not really in love with the lyrics.
Yeah.
Although I will say, on Death by Rock and Roll, her lyrics are way better.
Yeah, it's so refined. And, I think sometimes the best lyrics come and the best stuff comes from a very dark place. I've written some of my own poetry, this and that, and I've never published anything, but I went back and read some of it and I really enjoyed it. But sometimes the best music and the best, poetry and all that can come from a very dark place.
We should make a disclaimer not to romanticize this idea of you need to suffer.
No, you don't. You do not. And I always say, at the end of everything, I always give the positivity that no matter what you're going through, there's always someone rooting for you and all of that. So I agree. Yeah. Disclaimer on that. But unfortunately, some of the best stuff comes from the worst places. And I think it was also because of the passing of Chris Cornell. Taylor's been very open about that on, her interviews and everything. And I'm still not okay from that.
Just for a bit of context, so the Pretty Reckless opened for Soundgarden on the last tour they played with Chris Cornell, and Taylor has cited Soundgarden as being second to the Beatles as far as the greatest band ever. So getting to open for Soundgarden was like a dream come true. And then Chris Cornell commits suicide. And I mean, anyone who likes Soundgarden was devastated by it. But imagine that happening after getting to open for him. There's a video of her 2 days after Chris Cornell died, performing Audioslave's Like a Stone. And she just cannot hide her sadness. She is crying. And we were talking about Johnny Cash earlier. This is like Johnny Cash covering Hurt levels of sad.
People talk about owning songs. Johnny Cash owns Hurt now. That song is just sad. And I'll be honest, I'm still not okay from Chris passing. I mean, I've come to terms with my own grief and everything, but I'm still sad when I think about him. I remember I have a friend who really loved Prince when he passed. It's like, that's my Prince. That's like, if you were close with, no matter the conduct of the person, but Michael Jackson's music. I know some people that were really devastated when he died. That is to my level, like my David Bowie, my Prince. That is Chris Cornell to me.
I listened to Down on the Upside recently.
Yes, I have that. Actually, that has my favorite Soundgarden song on it.
Burn in My Hand?
Burn in My Hand is my favorite Soundgarden song.
Oh my god, I just guessed that.
Marichen, do you listen to Soundgarden at all?
I know the hits and stuff, but I'm not a huge Soundgarden fan.
Okay.
Listen to Super Unknown. If you have to start anywhere, listen to Super Unknown.
It's not like a quote unquote greatest hits, but it has most of their well known stuff on it.
Okay, so I've probably heard most of the songs on.
You've heard Black Hole Sun.
Oh yeah,
I can promise you've heard Black Hole Sun.
Oh yeah, that's a song I know by heart.
I have a funny little story about that. So, have y'all played Rock Band?
No.
No, I've played Guitar Hero on the Wii, but I never played Rock Band.
I recently read something about how Kurt Cobain was in Rock Band 5.
I thought so.
Dave Grohl pointed out how it's kind of crazy that you can play Kurt Cobain playing a Bon Jovi song when in real life Kurt Cobain hated Bon Jovi.
Yes. One of my favorite anecdotes about Kurt Cobain was he hated influence from the producer and everything. But to get Kurt to do something, he would just say, well, John Lennon did it. I think it was double vocals. He didn't want to do double vocals on a song, but he felt that the song was better. He said, well, John Lennon used double vocals on this. And then Kurt was like, all right, let's do it.
I like that. We were talking about Soundgarden a second ago.
Yes, and this is related. We were playing Black Hole Sun was the song. I was on vocals. I like to sing every once in a while, and I've been told I got a decent singing voice. I just need to learn how to sing a little more in key. I'm a little flat when I sing, but I digress.
I think it's pretty bold of you to take vocals on a Soundgarden song.
Yeah, but I love the song so much and I knew it by heart. But I think I got 98 or 99% on that. I was doing pretty good. But two former friends, one was playing on drums and one was playing on guitar. And it gets towards the end, when it's the longer, Kim's doing that wow, that longer phrase at the end. And all
Oh, is this why they're former friends?
No. It's a long story that I do not want to get into. Let's just say I had to leave them to grow. That's all I'm going to say.
Gotcha.
But this was when we were all we were playing, and it's getting to like towards the end. With the phrase where Kim, like the guitar, like
Kim is just doing his thing.
Yeah. All I hear in the background is, "How long is this song?" So we're here, doing our thing, and I'm just, it's not one of the phrases where, Chris is doing like the long thing, the long singing.
You should have just turned around and said, "Shut up, you're being very disrespectful."
I should have. But that's one of my favorite memories is from that song, is that. And funny enough, little factoid, my mom's text tone for her boyfriend is Black Hole Sun, because that's one of his favorite songs.
Taylor Momsen's ringtone is Jesus Christ Pose.
Nice.
She was doing an interview and her phone rang, and it was Jesus Christ Pose.
That's funny. I think also one compilation, Marichen, you might want to check out, although I love all Soundgarden, is Soundgarden the A-sides. So, like, that's, like, their compilation of their singles. It's not, like, a greatest hits, but if you want to kind of get into it, there are some kind of earlier, not lesser-known songs, but that might be a good place to start, too, is that, if you just kind of want to, listen to it in there.
Also, get Audioslave self-titled.
Yeah, yes, definitely, because that's also related to Tom Morello as well.
Yes, perfect segue.
Who is on the album as well. And so it went, and that song, I wish I hear it more on the radio here, but I switch between stations all the time where I'm at. Plus, I don't get to be on the radio, but I hear it quite a bit when I was actually listening to the radio. Man, that song is so good. His work on that song is just impeccable.
Yeah, I remember listening to it for the first time and getting to the part near the end where the kids' choir comes in and thinking, this sounds like Heaven Knows.
Yes.
Heaven Knows, their biggest hit. There's like a kids' choir singing the chorus. I guess they're like, well, it worked the first time.
Yes, and then he just goes ham.
He is phenomenal.
And I wish I could have seen him when he was just doing his solo tour. He was playing a pretty famous venue around where I live called the Norma.
That would have been great.
Yeah, but I was not as literate as I am now. But I'm going to keep an eye out because I know he'll probably be touring again. But I definitely would go see.
You know what's funny?
What?
Oh, I'll let you finish.
No, go ahead.
This is the first #1 rock hit where Tom is credited as a solo artist.
Really?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Like, he had hits in Audioslave,
right,
but not on his own.
Rika, do you have any reaction to that?
No, I don't know. I'm just enjoying, like, listening to you guys talk because, like, this is stuff that, like, I don't know a ton about. Like, I bare bones basic knowledge. So I'm just enjoying getting to learn. That's what I'm here for tonight, is to learn.
Because I want to make sure everybody gets a fair share of talking through all this.
Yeah.
I think I'm not the first to say a bunch of the songs, at least a couple of them and a handful in my mind, remind me of Pink Floyd songs in the best way possible.
Got So High.
Yep. Got So High reminds me of that.
I actually showed Got So High to a friend, and he was like, I get Beatles vibes from this.
I can hear that too.
Which, knowing Taylor, Beatles are her, like, favorite band ever. That was probably intentional, and she would take that as a massive compliment.
Yes. And, of course, I had, like, a dark theory for 3 of the songs.
Yes, he wrote that in his review. Do you want to give it away now, or do you want to save that for when you publish it?
I can give it away now, and then for those who want to stumble upon it, can go back later. Now, I actually have the vinyl sheet here, so I can take a look at this. As I was, reading through it, and, it's for 25 My Bones and Got So High. Basically, it's kind of like, how Pearl Jam has, like, their 3 dark songs that kind of tell an overarching story.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a moment where I had that. And this is, of course, my interpretation of it. I'm not going to go completely into details because there are some triggering words for some people on it. But being with, Chris Cornell committing suicide and everything, and, all of that, I kind of felt like, as I was reading this, one of the characters, and I'm saying this right now, this is the trigger warning here, I will leave a skip time down below so you can move ahead with this. It essentially is about suicide. And something happened with this particular person that they felt that suicide was the only way out. Now, the inferences that I gather are from the lyrics and everything, but also 25 reminds me of a Bond song. Am I the only one to think that?
I didn't get it at first when I first heard 25, but I saw someone else say this sounds like a Bond song, and I was like, oh my god, it does. I'm a big fan of the movies,
Yes.
and I heard it, I was like, oh my god, this sounds like a Bond theme. And, Chris Cornell did a Bond theme.
Yes.
It's all connected.
It's kind of like that one meme image where it's like that guy going crazy with all the lines and everything.
I also showed 25 to another friend, and they were like, you know what this reminds me of? Dream On by Aerosmith.
I can hear that now. I could totally hear that. So I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive, but not really. So when I was reading My Bones, I carried out my plan, and I'm like, okay, as you know, I'm starting to gather these things, and it's just kind of like things started to click left and right. The birds, they all know it. They showed it to me. Forgotten by man, there stands an old hanging tree. As I was going through, I'm like, hanging tree, that sounds, like a suicide forest. Or like, I was getting kind of like Tim Burton, Sleepy Hollow vibes in my head. Have you seen the movie?
No, but broomsticks definitely sounded Burton-esque.
There's a moment where it's kind of a mystery with who is. I'm not going to spoil too much of the movie.
I've seen the opening scene where they fish that body out of the water.
Yeah. Essentially, Ichabod Crane is kind of like a investigator coming to the town of Sleepy Hollow. And there's like a headless horseman that's causing all this chaos. And towards the very end, they find, I'm not going to give away who did it and all that, but there's a tree in there that, bleeds. And I was thinking of the imagery of that tree. And like, as I was just kind of going through it, I was thinking, like, my mother and father, doctor and friends, don't trust them. They won't understand.
So don't tell them what I'm doing because they might talk me out of it and I'm not hearing it.
Yes, like, they won't understand. Like, a lot of people, unfortunately, think that people don't understand, but they can, and people have the capacity to do so. And that's why I say what I do at the end of everything that I do, no matter what. I think it said there was something about it fruiting. When I was young, I could perfectly see. Now I am blind as a girl can be. Out of insanity to ecstasy, we all sin, so why am I so guilty? And I thought, why am I so guilty? That's kind of like dark thoughts, coming through.
I will point out the little twist on Amazing Grace. I once was blind, but now can see, and now she's saying, I once could see, but now I'm blind.
Yes. Back to the trenches of the life I lead. This hole, the only place where I can be free. Again, dark thinking. Out in the deep blue seas where I'll be free. Don't follow me. So I also, while the beast was asleep, I carried out my plan. And I was thinking, what is so dark? Was there like a murder that happened? They were about to... there's where it is. The old hanging tree, its roots are still growing, but it died long ago. And I thought, what could be roots growing but nooses and hanging ropes? That's kind of where my mind was going. I'm like, I swear I'm a happy person. I swear I'm okay. It's just where my mind went. And then if you kind of think about it, it leads into God So High. And that's almost like ethereal, kind of peaceful. Some people say that death is like the peaceful sleep, the eternal sleep.
And you can hear the bass in it.
Yes. But I was something, but now I'm nothing. And that's where the crux of everything was. When you are deceased, you're not considered something, you're considered nothing. You cease to exist. And that's where I was kind of going that. And 25 is kind of like, this is exactly what happens. Kind of like, this was the plan. This was like, the incident that happened.
Taylor has called the song autobiographical.
Take my interpretations with a grain of salt, but as I was going through, I was thinking, oh, goodness me, that's pretty dark. And then you have Harley Darling that loops right back into the footsteps.
Such a heartbreaker.
It is. And then, of course, Rock and Roll Heaven, just the lyrical, inferences on so many things. And I did listen to that other song, Rock and Roll Heaven, and...
Oh, Righteous Brothers.
Righteous Brothers, yeah. And it's, this is her version of that. I'm not making any comparisons on that.
Because, it's the Righteous Brothers. How can you compare?
Right, exactly. But some of it, my favorite lines are "Stole my daddy's vinyl, burn that needle out." That, and then "A garden full of sound."
Soundgarden.
I'm like, come on, Taylor. We know. I'm like, you're singing to me right now, and it's just that's like an old school song, That's like an old soul song, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. My Bones, recently I realized, so there's a song on Who You Selling For, Back to the River, featuring Warren Haynes of the Allman Brothers Band. It's sort of an homage to Southern rock. And it's about, I'm going back to the river where I don't have people judging me and I could just, relax, be myself. And My Bones feels like the evil version of that.
Ooh. You know what? I was just listening to Who You're Selling For, and you're right. That makes a lot of sense. And that's what I love about music is interpretations. You can interpret it the way you would like to, whether it be the positive or the negative, the way you want to interpret it. But it's so there's some intent in there, and I think lyrically and musically, this is one of the strongest. And honestly, I don't even mind that the bass is like that. This is my nasally complaint point. No, I love this album. Like beginning to end, I love this album. And I didn't think, because for the longest time, Going to Hell was a holy record grail.
That is a phenomenal album.
It is still a phenomenal album.
Absolutely. Why'd you bring a shotgun to the party? That has to be top 10 Pretty Reckless songs.
Yes, and I feel like from my circle of friends at the time who were kind of into it, they didn't talk about it, and I'm like, shame on you.
Don't sleep on this band.
No, one of my favorites is Absolution.
Yeah.
And it's actually one of my favorite rock songs of all time, just in general.
Nice.
Just because, the way it kind of just leads off, I need my stop, and then it finally builds to it, and it's like, it's so worth it.
Yes.
And one of my favorite live songs from them is Sweet Things.
Ooh, yes. That is a sort of a duet between her and Ben, and the live version of that, he sounds sinister on the album recording, but even more so live.
Yes.
Hey there, little girl.
I do the evil villain voice a little too well.
Yes.
That little bit of the seduction in there is even like better when it's live,
I've found that whole album sort of has like the underlying theme of sin.
Yes. I love hearing Fucked Up World live because she brings out the tambourine.
Oh, I don't remember the tambourine, but I do remember this long-ass drum solo. And then the drummer stands up and takes a photo of the crowd.
Yes! But I just like it because it has tambourine in it, and I appreciate songs that have tambourine. Because segue back to Pearl Jam.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
They like to throw out tambourines to the crowd.
Yeah, I remember they did that at my show.
Dad brought his little, daughter with him. And it was back in the pit.
Don't call me.
And it was back in the pit. They were dancing all night. And Eddie said, "Can we sneak her up so we can give her a tambourine?" And the crowd literally let her sneak up so she could grab a tambourine and dance with everybody. One of the sweetest moments. It was the last song of the show. It was Indifference. But it's she was hanging out, dancing with Dad all night. It's like, bring her up, bring her front. Women of the world take over.
Yes.
He also talked about getting a tambourine for a soldier in the crowd because Virginia has a whole bunch of military bases.
Yeah.
And Eddie also dedicated it to a bunch of people at Langley Air Force Base. I just loved the interaction with the crowd that he had there. But I remember, songs with tambourines, like, Green Tambourine and everything, but songs like more modern songs, more rock songs that play with the tambourine, I very much appreciate because I feel like, oh, that's such like a niche, geeky, stupid, like the mainstream snob heads are like, that's just like that's like a stupid, I don't understand why people use that. It just sounds stupid. But if you use it right, it sounds amazing.
2 songs we haven't gotten to yet. Standing at the Wall and Turning Gold. So, Standing at the Wall, if I had to pick a weakest cut, part of that is just from the fact that it's between Witches Burn and Turning Gold.
Yes.
Like, it's not fair. There's nothing about the song itself that really makes me want to bring it down a point or two. It's just, it's good, but it's between all these other songs that are just amazing. And it took me a while to realize that. But, like, on its own, Standing at the Wall, like, the guitar, the strings, the lyrics, they're all just incredible.
Yes, and one lyric that just kind of just doesn't stick with me just for like 2 seconds. A lot of Lottie Di Da's when we were young when I was first listening to that. Now, of course, now I appreciate it, but
I like that lyric.
I do now. But it was when I was first listening to it, I was like, huh. I'm like, this was my thought at the beginning. It's like, did you for like this was 2 seconds of thought, by the way. Is that a clunker lyric? What's going on? And now I love it, of course, but
That wasn't the thing I had issue with on first listen. The thing I had issue with was really in the bridge where she does the surrounded by the
yeah.
wall. And I thought the way she does the long note kind of just it feels weird to describe, but I just didn't really it felt like she was doing the long note and it didn't click as well as it should have. It's like she's clearly pouring her heart into this. And like it works, but it just feels weird to say like that. But turning gold, wow.
I'm looking at the lyrics right now because I pulled out the lyric sheet from my final copy. First line I see: life is an ending, starting in the womb. You build a home of brick and mortar, and then it is your tomb. That is literally where my
Cindy Lou Who wrote that.
yes, little City Lou Who. I wonder if the Grinch had any. If was I'm kidding. I mean, what wasn't his outgoing voicemail before his heart grew 3 sizes? If you so much as speak one syllable, I'll hunt you down and gut you like a fish. If you want to fax me, press the star key.
I haven't seen that movie in some time.
I actually quote it on the daily.
I can believe that.
It's honestly, I wish that the extended cut of the movie.
That movie has an extended cut.
Yes, TV. If you watch it on Freeform, which used to be ABC Family, they actually stitched in all the deleted scenes, and they have access to some deleted scenes that are not on like a physical release.
Damn.
So the reason they do that is so they can pad it with more commercials. And yet there's a petition going around saying
release that version.
Yes, because
release the Snyder cut.
Yes, for example, there's a scene where, during the entire movie, Cindy's mom is trying to win the lighting contest, right?
Yeah.
They actually show the lighting contest. In the actual cut of the movie, you don't get to see the lighting contest.
Oh,
and it turns out that the mayor, just to try and schmooze his girlfriend, Cindy's mom wins the contest. But the asshole mayor says his girlfriend won the contest.
Oh, this election was rigged.
But it makes a point because at the very end, when they're trying to stop the Grinch with the lights, and the love interest of the Grinch, she says, I absolutely love your display. That's a callback to that scene, and it actually shows, the olive branch being extended.
Okay.
There's a couple of outfits you didn't get to see the Grinch wear. He runs out and he's like covered in bees. And then he has like...
Where are there bees in Whoville?
I don't know.
Isn't it supposed to be like Christmas all year round?
Yes. What else? There is, he wore like an oven range, like an old school, like, kettle oven. And when he opens up the oven where his gut is, it's literally on fire. There's, what other scenes there? Oh, there's a scene where, I've lived this, I think a lot of us have. It's like, oh, well, you've maxed out another credit card. Oh, well, this is my 9th one. And everybody's celebrating him maxing out another credit card. Like that's like kind of, subtle irony from the director talking about how people max out their credit cards. There's a scene very early on where the Grinch is causing chaos and he plops a marble down. And then there's these carolers that are singing, as people are shopping. And he makes it so they purposely sing faster. And then he pops a marble in the street. It causes all this chaos. And he's like, is this a simple child's toy or a weapon of mass destruction? You decide. And then there's...
A bit of trivia, actually, around that movie. Taylor Momsen had said that the first time she ever went into a recording studio was to record Where Are You Christmas for that movie. And she said, like, she loved the experience and that it gave her the thought of, this is what I want to do with my life.
Mm-hmm. I'd kind of like to, honestly, part of me wants to hear her do a newer version of it.
Yeah. I think she teased that on Twitter.
Oh, I would love to hear that. Because I love, of course the Faith Hill version is great. But I want to hear her version of an adult version of that,
Yeah.
And maybe if she can get the rights, unearth her singing to herself as a child. And, like, duetting herself as a child.
Ooh, that would be something.
That would be kind of nice, it kind of starts up, and then, like, you hear her, like, as it crescendos, like, towards, like, obviously you hear the original, and then it's, like, her older singing the rest of it.
Is this like when Natalie Cole did that a duet with Nat King Cole?
Yes, kind of like that.
That would be awesome.
I would love to see that, because it's kind of like, how Taylor Swift is re-recording her old music.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of like her singing with her younger self. Like, when Taylor Swift was revisiting her old music. I listened to too many Taylors. What's funny is one of my best friends, we listen to so many Taylors, we actually have nicknames. Taylor Momsen is Triple X because of...
No, there was already a rapper named Triple X, though.
I know. But that's just our nickname for her, but...
Speaking of re-recording, can Taylor re-record Light Me Up so she can finally release it on vinyl?
Yes, please. I would love that. That's one that I would love to see be put on vinyl. That is in my short list of this needs to happen like yesterday.
I was thinking, like, hey, the album turned 10 last year. Maybe they'll do something for that now.
Don't you hate that when that happens? Don't you just...
Yeah.
Marichen, are there any albums you wish that would be pressed on vinyl that hasn't been pressed before?
There are so many that I probably have, like, somewhere deep down in my thoughts. The Maine, they need to, like, press some of their early EPs, and their album Black and White has never been pressed on vinyl. I think that one would be kind of cool to see. Pioneer has been pressed, but it's only been pressed once, and it's super hard to find. So I'd like a repressing of that. And they've actually pressed Forever Halloween twice, but they have, like, the bonus tracks, and they've never pressed the bonus tracks, like, on either pressing. So, like, to me, they're just doing a missed opportunity there, because the bonus tracks are some of my favorites.
I'm looking up the Maine on Spotify. They did a Fall Out Boy cover?
Yeah, that was actually just like a couple of days ago. It's not as fast paced. It's very slow and subtle. Like, it's so different because they covered Thanks for the Memories, and it's so different from the actual song from Fall Out Boy.
Is it as good as the original?
Honestly, like, I don't think it's as good as the original, but if you take it for what it is, I think it's decent, because I mean, it is totally different. Like, if you didn't know that Fall Out Boy had wrote that song, you would think the Maine just wrote a random song and put it up, because it's so different. The only thing you got going that's similar is the lyrics.
It's kind of like when K-Flay decided to cover The Offspring. It's completely different. Each has its own, merit and everything. Which I think that cover is coming out for Record Store Day on that pressing that's coming out.
Which Offspring song?
I think it's Self-Esteem.
Speaking of The Offspring, have either of you listened to the recent album?
Not yet.
I have.
Skip it.
I didn't think it was awful. I didn't think it was great, but I didn't think it was awful. It was kind of
I mean, I didn't mind it, but I mean, I listened to Smash and Ixnay on the Ombre recently, and if you listen to those two albums, you really don't need to listen to this one.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if they've done it before, it's kind of meh. There's better stuff in their discography, for sure.
They do a dirge-like piano rendition of Gone Away. It's like closer to the Five Finger Death Punch cover than the original. And it's like, why would you do that?
I also listened to, like, their In the Hall of the Mountain King.
Oh, yeah. I actually like that one.
I like it. I do like it. I thought it was random seeing that on the, Coming For You. I'd seen them live when that was a brand new song. How long ago was that?
2015, right?
Yeah. It was a fun show, and they picked, like, this band called Jaws, Jawws. Bunch of 15-year-olds who were doing punk music. I thought that was cool that they just picked a random, like, teenager punk band to open for them. The lady who was drunk beside me asking them to get off stage for The Offspring was kind of rude.
You gotta love people like that at shows. That always pisses me off.
And I was so impressed with them because I actually have, for Record Store Day, the Pujol and Meth Dad 5-inch record. Jaws was one of the bands, not on the actual album, the little piece, but we're playing at one of those shows. So it's just like, why did I hear that name before? Oh, yeah. And I ended up picking up their 7-inch the day after at my local record shop because it got dropped off there. It's like a 4-song EP.
Nice. I've never heard of them, but I'll have to check them out eventually.
Yeah, I don't remember too much of it. I don't play my 7-inches that often.
I don't either. Like, I really honestly only buy 7-inches if I'm super in love with the song because I just don't play them as much.
Yeah.
I have Death by Rock and Roll on a 7-inch, and I recently ordered And So It Went on 7-inch.
I didn't have the money at the time for either of those. Now money's kind of coming up, but we have Record Store Day coming, so like that's the main focus. But I also pre-ordered the 20th anniversary pressing of Opeth's Blackwater Park because I do not have that.
I don't really listen to Opeth, but I do have some online acquaintances who are into them.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that I like no matter what they want to do. It's their integrity of the music, but I like any Opeth, really.
I am friends with one of the admins in the Anthony Fantano Discord server, and they have on their Rate Your Music page, it looks like Opeth have gone all over the place in terms of quality. There's a 1.5 star, there's a 2.5 star, there's a 4.5 star, but no 5s. Blackwater Park, in case you're curious, is a 3.5.
It's one of the Opeth albums. Like when you're thinking of that, I was just listening to it recently to see if I wanted to get it. Like I knew the songs, but I wanted to re-listen to it. I'm like, just from the opening track, I'm like, I gotta get this.
The album they gave 4.5 to, Ghost Reveries.
Ghost Reveries, yes, I could see that. Yeah. Sorceress, I could see them probably not giving that high, and in Caught of Venom, probably not that high either. They've got more prog with clean vocals in their more recent years because Michael doesn't want to do them that much. It's not that he's against them, but it's just not what he's passionate about anymore. But he still does them live, and he's like very relaxed. One of my favorite things lately is watching reaction videos to Ghost of Perdition from their Garden of the Titans live, which is a very good live album. They recorded it at Red Rocks, and it sounds like a studio album. And what's funny is Michael says that's one of his worst performances, and yet everybody's blown away by his performance. He also, the video's not available anymore thanks to a particular party on YouTube. But one of my favorite videos was he was doing 5 albums everybody should own. There was one by Lucifer's Friend. There was Joni Mitchell, Court and Spark, which was talked about last episode. Remember that, Marichen?
Yes.
I listened to Court and Spark, and I think I'm just not a fan of jazz Joni Mitchell. Like, I prefer her earlier folk stuff. But that's just me. Like, I know everyone says, like, oh, Court and Spark is, like, so amazing. I'm happy you like it, but I'm more into, like, Ladies of the Canyon and Blue Joni Mitchell.
That's for sure. My favorite era of Joni Mitchell is her early folk stuff, but I don't really mind her later stuff, but I for sure tend to go toward like Ladies of the Canyon and Blue than I do probably any other album.
Yeah. What else did he say? There was a Man of War album on there, which Man of War is a guilty pleasure for me.
Wait, what was that video you made of the 5 albums everyone should have? Was that related?
It was kind of inspired by that.
You're gonna have to go back and edit Death by Rock and Roll in where you had Going to Hell.
Yep, I'm gonna have to do a re-release of that.
If you get the album on vinyl or CD and open the gatefold or booklet, there is a photo that's a variation on the cover where, so on the cover, Taylor has her arms across her chest, and in the photo inside the gatefold, they're like not over her chest. Apparently, she wanted that to be the cover.
Ah, I get why.
Jane's Addiction did that. Pixies did that. There's precedent, but like I'm not surprised that there would be some caution against doing that. But I guess the compromise is if you want to see the photo, you have to buy a physical copy of the album. So everyone wins.
I'm all for that. Oh, actually, that was a contest entry to Mariken's. That's the contest you did for the Motley Crue album, if I remember.
Yeah. I remember I did like your top 5 favorite albums, I think, was the contest.
Or 5 albums you think everybody should have. kind of like an
Mm-hmm.
adjacent to the discussion we had last time. Wow.
I remember that. That's been a long time.
Yes.
I have my own record collection. I bought some records when I was in college. There was a record store a short walk from my campus, and I have like The Doors self-titled, Ramones self-titled, Rubber Soul, Illmatic, Rumors, The River by Springsteen. I have 52nd Street in there. I just have a lot of stuff that you'd recognize. Also, I was listening. Funny, I talk about record collections. I was listening to your previous episode about like 20 albums everyone should have. If you want to get a record collection. I was like talking along to it. So when you were getting to Billy Joel, I was like, New York State of Mind, yes. Or no, it was like scenes from an Italian restaurant. Yeah, yeah. I was just like, doing my own commentary. Personally, I mean, everyone says The Stranger is a classic, and it is. But my favorite album of his is Turnstiles, the album he put out previously.
Yes, that is a good album.
Like Death by Rock and Roll, it's just so emotional. It has some of his greatest songs, like New York State of Mind. Close your eyes and you hear that piano intro, and you just picture New York from like a bird's eye view, and it's at night, and the lights are on. And it's just a human being wrote that song. My God.
And of course, Prelude, Angry Young Man.
Yes.
I have
Yes.
I have the live Billy Joel that was Record Store Day. That was
Songs in the Attic?
No, this was live 1973. It was one that had come out from like a box set of his. Let me pull it up.
Was it the one where he was at Carnegie?
Yes, The Stranger
Hall?
Live.
I really wanted that, and I passed it.
No. 1973 was before The Stranger, though.
Yeah, that's what they called it, though.
Just call it Piano Man Live.
No, it was live at Carnegie Hall.
I need to listen to the Piano Man album again. Captain Jack, If I Only Had the Words to Tell You, Ain't No Crime is pretty fun. I like all of his albums. I grew up on his music. I've seen him in live 3 times. I love all of his albums. I even kind of get some enjoyment out of the metal album he made.
Yes, I've heard it. I get some enjoyment, too, out of it. This wasn't the full set. There are some people that say there were other songs that were played. But this was the producer who went on, or one of the guys who went on to help Billy Joel with The Stranger was at that show that night.
Phil Ramone?
I believe so, yes. It says it on the hype sticker.
I don't know if I still have it, but I know at one point I had Phil Ramone's autobiography.
Ah, nice. Miami 2017, Prelude.
Yes, classic.
Prelude, Angry Young Man, New York State of Mind, Just the Way You Are, She's Got Away. The Entertainer, first time hearing Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. The band introductions, Captain Jack, I Love These Days, Say Goodbye to Hollywood, and Souvenir. I love Souvenir.
Oh, dude, one of his best songs, period. Oh, man, such a beautiful song. If I had to pick a song to play at my funeral, that would be a strong contender.
You know what song people sleep on is Stiletto.
That is a great one.
Yeah, Songs in the Attic, I think MoFi still has their available version up there. I would love to have gotten the Nylon Curtain on, their MoFi version, because that's just a beautiful album. I think I don't have anything more to say on the Pretty Reckless. Do you have anything left to say?
I mean, I could talk about them for hours, but I don't feel like we have the time for that.
Yeah, because we're getting up about an hour and a half, which is our normal run time. Marichen, do you have any thoughts left on the Pretty Reckless?
No, I've really enjoyed listening to you guys, though, because I feel like I've learned a lot.
I'd like to, maybe we could do a revisit after a while, and then you can kind of like come a little more knowledgeable, and then we can do another discussion later on, because hopefully, I know they're saying that unfortunately they're postponed their tour until 2022.
Just a few days ago, they announced it's sad because I bought tickets. They had a show booked in August that I had bought a ticket to, and then they canceled that again. But, I mean, hey, safety first.
Yeah, definitely safety first. And actually, Taylor liked my comment saying, it's a little sad and everything, but safety first.
I actually, I posted something on Instagram about, and so it went hitting number 1, and both her and the band's Instagram accounts put me in their stories.
Oh, yes, I remember seeing that.
Yeah, love them for that. Thank you. If miraculously anyone in the band is listening, thank you for the awesome music, and thank you for doing that with my post.
I actually was surprised that Taylor Momsen liked it. I looked down, I got a notification on my phone, because I post to Instagram off and on. It's like, Taylor Momsen liked it. I'm like, what? Because I also got a like from Haley Williams earlier this year. Or last year.
Oh, congrats.
It was last year when, Pedals for Armor, the box set had come in, and I posted about it.
Just a quick aside, Pedals for Armor, my album of 2020. Had Death by Rock and Roll come out in 2020, would have been that, but it didn't, so Pedals for Armor.
I honestly forget what I put on mine. I'm having a brain fart.
I know Folklore was in your top 3.
I think it was Folklore that was at number 1.
And Quadra.
Quadra, yes. Quadra was
And
good.
a third one I'm forgetting. Was it Pedals for Armor?
Pedals for Armor, yes. Yes, it was. And those two were kind of tied for the longest time, but it was like Folklore just barely edged out on like a minuscule like 0.0000001%.
Folklore might be your best album.
Yeah, I'm actually staring at Evermore, my CD copy right now.
I mean, Evermore's good, but Folklore just does more for me.
Yeah, I like Coney Island because Coney Island, of course, roller coasters, all that stuff. And then, of course, it has the National fully on there. I wish Taylor would hop onto a National song.
The only songs I remember clearly from Evermore, and mind you, I've only listened to the album once, was their Champagne Problems and No Body, No Crime. But then I look at Folklore and I'm like, The One, This Is Me Trying, The Last Great American Dynasty, Exile, Cardigan. So many great songs.
Yeah, I get to look at my signed CD all the time. I was one of the lucky ones to get from the indie store when she released Folklore and did all the signed CDs. I finally, after fighting and hoping and praying, I got one. So it's like, yay! It's like I put it right beside my Ain't It Fun signed vinyl. Have I ever told that story? Ricky, do you know that story? How I got that signed?
I know you've told it to me personally.
Was it either of the 2 times you met Haley?
Yes. It was during the Monument tour, and this was for Record Store Day. It was like one of the only things I wanted. My store didn't get it in. I fought the site crashing multiple times. You think the PS5 is hard to get right now? No. This was even tougher to get a copy of. But I had no plans on playing it because I had, of course, the box set of the vinyl box set. So I was like, let me get them to sign this. And I got Haley stares at me and says, "Are you sure I'm okay to open this?" And I said, "Yes." So she rips it open like a kid at Christmas, and they all sign it.
Aw.
So when I'm sitting in my chair, either listening to music or playing my Switch or watching a movie, I literally look right to the side. I see my Jenna McDougall signed poster, my Paramore signed Ain't It Fun, and then my Taylor Swift signed CD. I've yet to see her live, but I want to see her live.
Did you listen to Haley's new album?
Not fully yet. It's on the plan to do so.
I recommend it.
Yeah, I like her new song that came out.
Which one? Oh, the cover.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I'll definitely go back. I started listening to it, and then I was about to get to it, and then Death by Rock and Roll came.
Real quick, new Foo Fighters album. What are your thoughts?
I haven't fully listened to it, but the singles I've enjoyed.
The whole album is fine. I mean, they're long past their everlong years. It's fine.
One of my favorites has always been, I think I might have suggested, I don't know, Wasting Light is one of my favorites by them.
Wasting Light is great.
Yeah, I have it on vinyl. It's the 45 RPM, and one thing that I love about the vinyl version is the MP3s were ripped directly from a vinyl copy.
Ooh, nice.
And I've listened to it. It's good. Like the album's good, obviously, but one of my favorite songs, like of all time, is Walk. I have not seen it live, but I've always said if I ever get a band, I'd play that song live. Just because I'd like to talk to the crowd, but extend that da-na-na-na, like that first part, and just like extend it a little bit and put a positive message on there. Because as I was growing from the people we talked about earlier, that was one song I listened to over and over again to get me through tough times.
Yeah.
Plus, also, it's at the end of the Thor movie, and I love the Thor movie, so...
Which one?
The very first one.
I don't remember. I've seen it, but I don't remember hardly anything from it.
It's at the end credits, the very end of the very first Thor movie, they play that song. And it fits the theme of the movie so well.
Wait, didn't that come out the same year as Wasting Light?
Yes.
God damn.
Yes. And that just kind of like a tie-in and everything. It's like, I can't not think of that because it's one song that I love, and Thor is one of my favorite. The Thor Ultimate Avengers Thor is one of my favorites. But that's another discussion for another day. We could go into the comic book stuff another day. This is the music podcast. Why are you talking about comics?
Hey, it's your podcast. Do whatever you want.
Closing thoughts. Marichen, do you want to start?
Go listen to Death by Rock and Roll. It's a great album. Yeah. Can't speak for the rest of them in full, but they have some great stuff. And that's about it.
How about you, 999? Do you have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, what Marichen said. Go listen to The Pretty Reckless.
Please go listen to The Pretty Reckless. They are worth your time, and then some. Even if you just are a person that's like, I only listen to the singles, go out of your way to listen to this album.
Don't do that with this band.
Do not.
The album cuts have some of their best songs.
Yeah, right. You need to go listen to this band. You actually need to go buy this album. Just go buy this album.
Please, buy it.
You buy now, yes. You go and you buy. If you listen to this far and we haven't convinced you yet, still go buy it. Just go buy it. Go support the band.
If we haven't convinced you at this point, we kind of suck at our jobs.
Exactly. Totally. If all this gushing.
We spent too much time talking about all these different tangents.
Exactly. But if there's one thing you can take away from this, go listen to The Pretty Reckless. We recommend starting off from the beginning, but if you're like, I only want to listen to the first thing, just go buy Death by Rock and Roll, and then go from there if you're that type of person, which...
When you're done with that, listen to the rest of this podcast.
Yes.
Go back on the other episodes.
Please. Yeah, just go buy the album, and as I say at the end of everything that I'm in, when the waters get rough, please keep on sailing. Even if you feel like you don't believe in yourself, I believe in you. Everybody here wants the best for you. We're all rooting for you. And, we're still going through a lot of tough things, but you're definitely not alone. You will never be alone. And we love you. Take care, and we will catch you on the next episode. Cool, and the call is ended. Time to go get a snack from 7-Eleven. Hey, can't come to the phone right now. Leave a message, and I'll get back to you.
Hey, it's 999. I forgot to bring this up during our conversation, but you know that one photo of John and Yoko on the floor where Yoko has her clothes on and John is curled up and naked? Taylor's pose on the album cover kind of reminds me of John in that photo, but as I said, I forgot to bring it up. Oh well, talk later.